All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Gary Crosby. Welcome to LinkedIn Live Leadership number 11. Today, we're going to be talking about the top 5 traits of leadership in a post-pandemic world. And, I've got some pretty straightforward aims for this. I want to give you some food for thought. That's important always. And maybe you're going to have one of those aha moments where you just think, well, maybe my leadership will be a little bit different after what I've learned today. My name's Gary Crosby. As I said, I'm an action coach, business coach. As you can see from the sign, I'm at home today, not in the office as usual. And this is all about real world, pragmatic leadership advice that I've learned over my career. First of all, 30 years in the Royal Air Force. I was really privileged to be appointed as the commanding officer of one of its frontline flying squadrons. And I tell you what, you could learn a lot about leadership in that position. I spent some time in the corporate world. And for the last 3 years, I've been a business coach where I'm helping business owners with all sorts of stuff. But often it's about their transition from being the person inside the business who does a lot of stuff to being the leader of their business. So that's where this is all coming from. Let's dive straight in with number one. Number one trait for leadership in the post-pandemic world is try to create a rebel ideas factory. Okay, so this might seem a little bit unusual, but it's all about the importance of diversity in your business. There's actually a word for when you create a team of people who all come from the same background, they've all got the same education and experience and lifestyle and the way of thinking, and it's called homophily. Okay, and homophily is a bad thing because it doesn't give you diversity of thinking in your business when everyone's thinking the same way. If you want to learn more, go to this book by Matthew Syed, an absolutely brilliant book on how to create rebel ideas. But the tip here is for you to start adding a diversity to your business. Wouldn't it be great if you're in a meeting discussing a problem or an opportunity and somebody was always going to come up with a unique perspective because of their age, because of their experience, because of their education, because of their background, because of the way they think differently from everybody else. So a great way going forward in the post-pandemic world is to get that diversity in. Another part of this is also to create a system of constructive dissent, as Matthew calls it in the book. And constructive dissent is when people feel really comfortable with the idea of speaking up. Because if everyone's suppressing their ideas, again, you're not getting that kind of innovation inside a company. Let me give you an extreme example from, a link to my aviation background. December 1978, United Airlines Flight 173 takes off from Denver. It's heading over to the West Coast to Portland in Oregon. And at about 6:05 in the evening, it crashes into the suburbs of Portland, killing 20 people on the aircraft. Why did that happen? Because nobody on the flight deck had the courage to speak up sufficiently robustly to the captain to tell the captain that they were running out of fuel. The aircraft crashed with no fuel on board. How did that happen? He was focused on trying to fix an undercarriage fault, and nobody in the cockpit felt like they could interrupt him and speak up to the extent where he would listen. So an extreme example, but in your business, you want people who are going to put their hand up and go, you know what, I'm not sure this is right. Why don't we think about doing something differently? So get rid of homophily, get some diversity into the team, encourage constructive dissent, and you'll have a great way of adding to your leadership in the post-pandemic world. So that was number one. Number two is a little bit simpler. It's a trait that all leaders should embrace, and that is that I want you to invent your future. I want you to talk enthusiastically about your future, whatever kind of year it's been in your business. And some people have had terrible years and some people have had okay years. Some people are still flying 12 months on from the first lockdown. And that's great, but we don't want to reflect on that year for too long. Learn the lessons by all means, of course, but start to talk about the rest of this year. Start to talk about the opportunities that exist that you want to grasp. Talk about 2022 in the post-pandemic world and this idea that you can make new and fresh plans for your team and your business. Pivot is a much overused word recently, but there are companies who are finding new ways to service their clients. They're finding new demand areas for the same products and services delivered in a different way. So why not get everybody focused on those possibilities? Focusing on the future, inventing the future that you want yourself and your company to live into. So that was number two, nice and simple, something all leaders should be doing all the time. Number three is one that it's actually a personal favorite of mine, and I say this to a lot of my clients. I want you to start saying no to more stuff, okay? Warren Buffett was the sage of Omaha, one of the world's greatest investors, and he said the difference between really successful people and unsuccessful people is that really successful people say no to almost everything. And how you use your time as a leader is absolutely critical in this respect. So I just want you to ask yourself 3 questions, okay? You might want to write these down. Question number 1, what am I not doing right now that I really need to start doing? Okay, that'll give you some clues about stuff that you might want to start doing. Question number 2, what am I doing and I'm doing really well and I need to keep doing it and do more of it? Yeah, doing more of what you do well is really important in business. And then number 3, linked to this point, and the most important question here is, what am I doing right now that's getting in the way and I just need to stop doing it? And once you start to declutter some of your schedule like that, then that is a great way for you to get more time to do some of the more strategic stuff as a leader. And I want to give you just one tip that came out of our coaching community a couple of weeks ago, and that's around your inbox. Okay, so an inbox is something we've all got to cope with, right? So it's a constant pressure in our life to deal with what's in the inbox. And so here's a quick tip. It's a habit that you can form that is really simple to do. I've started to do it. It's really effective, has been really effective for me. So you open up your email application, and the first thing you do every time you open up that application is you unsubscribe from one thing, and you block one user who's been sending you spam. Yeah. So I know that sounds really simple. Over the course of 10 working days, if you open up your email application 3 or 4 times during the day, that's going to have a significant impact on the amount of crap that you have to deal with in your inbox. So get into the habit of doing that. You'll find it useful. And it's another way for you to say no to other people demanding your attention. All right, so that was number 3. Number 4 is, as a leader, it would be really good in the post-pandemic world to start prioritizing well-being, okay? Communication is really important when you've got a team coming back together or when you're having to deal with a remote team. And you might have heard me before in this session talking about doubling up, tripling up, quadrupling up your communications so that everybody in your team receives information in a way that works for them. Continue to do that, but start to use a slightly different voice and tone around the idea of well-being. Now, I've always promoted the idea of what I call outcome-based freedoms, OBFs, okay? And this is based on something I learned in the military, a concept in the military called mission command, where a senior leader would essentially declare their intent for a particular situation or a campaign, and they would be very explicit about the outcome that they wanted to see, and then they would devolve the resources and the responsibility to their subordinates in order to create the effect that they wanted. Now, you can do this in business by being very clear as a leader about what your outcomes are. There'll probably be mandatory outcomes. They could be highly desirable outcomes. They could be some desirable outcomes. Make it clear what those are, and then give your employees OBFs, outcome-based freedoms, because people don't want to commute anymore, do they? 3-4 hours a day. They don't want to sit at a desk for 10 hours a day if they can achieve the outcomes in a different way. And normally when they do that in a different way, they are prioritizing their own well-being. You might find them working at different hours of the day because they've had a little bit of time off to do the school run, or they've taken time off to go for a run, or whatever it is that they do. Those outcome-based freedoms are really important. So have a think about that. They promote well-being naturally amongst the workforce. As a leader, it could make a significant difference to your strategy and your effectiveness if your employees have got that. So that was number 4. Number 5, this is just around a question, really. So I want to finish this off as trait number 5 by you answering this very simple question. Again, really good if you could write this one down. What do I want to be remembered for? What do I want to be remembered for? Because the answers to that question are your guiding light for your leadership. Yeah, all the leadership development programs of the past have focused on things like strategy and planning and finance and business continuity and all of those kind of strategic issues, with behavioral aspects perhaps demoted a little bit. And what you want to be doing is, as you answer that question, you'll work out what kind of leader you want to be remembered as. Is it somebody who was focused on all of that strategic stuff, which I'm not saying isn't important, it is an important part? Or were you a leader that started to think about personalization in business? You know, people have been saying standardization, ramming people into pigeonholes and demanding that they work in a particular way. That's the old way. How do we personalize people's employment experience? If you're a leader who becomes known for that and understood for being someone who's prepared to offer those outcome-based freedoms and be a leader who's forward-thinking like that, then again, the answer to that question is your guiding light for that. What do you want to be remembered for? All right, so we've rattled through that really quickly. These sessions are never longer than 10 minutes. That was LinkedIn Live number 11, all about top 5 traits that I think leaders should be focusing on in the post-pandemic world. If you found it useful, give me a thumbs up. Tag somebody in a comment if you think they'll benefit from it. If you're watching this on YouTube later on, then by all means subscribe and hit that bell so you'll get a notification every time new content is posted. Now that happens every week. We do this Wednesday at midday every single week. And if you've got an idea about what kind of content you'd like to see, then I'm also keen to hear that. LinkedIn Live Leadership number 12 is next Wednesday at midday. It's always at the same time as well. And we're going to be exploring how to develop a coaching style of leadership. Again, a different way of approaching life as a leader in a business or in an organization. So thank you for watching today. Thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you next week. Bye for now.